Hello and welcome to another episode of the podcast. Today I'm joined by Devesh. Devesh has built an agency business from zero to, 25, maybe even more K MRR. And since then, he's outsourced that and started some new exciting projects. So I'm sure we have a lot to talk about. So welcome, Devesh.
Awesome, bro. I'm excited to be here for the second time.
Yeah.
How's it going?
I mean, the first time was very interesting because we talked a lot about how you built your first agency business. Maybe for the people who haven't seen that one, can you do a short story about how you got the idea, how you then set to actually do that, and what were your main learnings there?
Yeah, so for my previous agency, it was in the cold email lead gen space, and I was helping my clients generate leads using cold email, LinkedIn outreach, cold calling, and all that stuff. I started that agency in September last year, and then I got it to 12 plus clients by I think July and August this year. And then I have been very less focused on that. I have a operations guy who is managing most of the stuff. And then I started a new agency, which is Influtize in September this year again. And then I'm focused on that right now.
Nice. So yeah, to recap a bit about your previous agency, how did you learn all the processes necessary to build that business?
So I didn't go and study theory for 4 or 5 months and then start my agency. I just started it. And then every time I got a problem, I searched on YouTube, I searched on Google, and that's how I figured stuff out. I bought multiple courses, coaching programs, and that's it. Like learning, I don't read a lot of books. I don't read any books. I had a book list of maybe 200 plus books, maybe 8 months ago. I deleted that whole list just so that I could start from scratch again. And then I have like a recommendation list of I think 15 plus books, but I haven't ordered any. I don't read a lot of books. I would like to. I used to read a lot of books when I was maybe around 15, 12 to 15, 12 to 16. But now I don't have enough time to sit back, relax, and read and learn. So I just go to the field, go to the trenches, and learn in that way.
Nice. Yeah, learning by doing. It's the best way. And then as you build your business, you also grew a lot on Twitter. What did you do to achieve that? And yeah, what are the tips you can give people who want to grow on Twitter?
So the only one thing I did to grow on Twitter was to document my journey, as Gary Vee says. So all I was doing was just making threads, writing threads, posting threads about what's going on outside of Twitter in my life, in my business, in my agency, how I'm getting clients, how I'm growing agency, how I'm getting results for my clients, how I'm making money, all that stuff at each step every month, maybe every 2 weeks. From October last year to April this year, I was writing threads every month. And then I stopped doing that because I focused more on growing my agency. But the initial growth of my Twitter account came from those documenting my journey, Twitter threads, building public, all that stuff.
All right. And then, yeah, you also built a course about that process. So how did you go about selling that course? Did Twitter help you there, or did you use other channels?
I didn't use any other channel, so the only channel I used for that course, I launched it in May. It's called Agency Cashflow Roadmap. And then all I used was my Twitter and then my email list, nothing else.
Right. And so how can you sell to, because it's one thing to get followers on Twitter, but it's another thing to actually get them to take action and sell. Like, what do you do?
Yeah, so I do this thing for my clients also, like selling with Influtize, which is my second agency. I sell products, coaching programs, and all that stuff for my clients also. And the only thing required is your audience needs to know that you are legit, you have credibility, you have authority, you have a business outside of that social media platform. And that's that's basically it. Like that's all they need to know. And then you give them something to buy. You show them why they need to buy it. You show them how they are going to benefit from it, and then they'll buy it. That's the basic gist of it. Like I used email marketing, and then I used to sell in my threads, in my tweets. But yeah, that's it. I never did any sales and discounts until Black Friday. So I'm not very well versed in that area of things, like doing discounts, just because I don't like to. But I kept on increasing the price every time I added more updates. And that's all I did. Like I sent emails regularly, I sent tweets, and that's how I sold my course. It has around 750 plus students right now.
Wow. So how are those students doing? Like, do you get any feedback from them? Are they actually building their own agencies, or are most of them just reading it and not doing anything? Like, what's the feedback there?
Yeah, so I think 50% of the people are just going through the course and not doing anything, but the rest 50% are actually asking me questions every day. I get questions. So my course is hosted on a platform called Podia, and I get questions in the comments on that platform. I get questions in the DMs on the Podia platform, and then I get questions on my Twitter also. So it takes a bit of time to answer all the questions, but I try to answer all the questions once a week, and I have a block of time where I answer all the questions at once.
Nice. Yeah, that's good that you got some good engagement from there. And then to build your like to take on your next project, how did you go about that? How did you get the ideas? Did other people on Twitter help you with that, or how did you go about that?
Yeah, so with Inflatize, I got this idea because I was struggling to do it myself. Like I won't call myself an influencer, but I have like 20K followers, so maybe you could call me kind of a micro influencer. And I had my businesses, but I didn't have so much time to promote my own courses. So I saw that there's a problem. I saw that the target market is influencers who have other businesses and they're not selling to their audience. So I thought about it, and then I realized that what if I go to these influencers who have businesses outside of like selling sponsorships, and they have other businesses. They want to sell a course or a coaching program, whatever, but they don't have the time. Maybe they don't even have the skills to do it. And then what if I help them monetize their audience? So that's what Inflatize is all about.
Nice. Is this something that you are doing by yourself, or are you partnering up with other people from Twitter?
Yeah, so Chris is my co-founder. I found him from Twitter. He's doing half of the work. I call him the CEO of Inflatize, just to make him happy.
Nice. So, how do you find the right people in Twitter? Because I think there's a small part of Twitter called Money Twitter that has a lot of people similar to you who are having online businesses and growing them. How do you make the most of that in terms of connecting to people who have had successes and working together with them or learning from them?
Yeah, so the only thing that's necessary is you need to be active in your DMs. And if you're talking to people in your DMs, then you will eventually find the right people who you could build partnerships with. And then just talk to people in the DMs, get on a Zoom call with them, see what they feel like, what it feels like talking to them. And then with Chris, I knew him for 9 months before partnering up with him. I found him, he DM'd me in January this year, and then we had been friends ever since. And then in September, I partnered up with him finally.
Nice. So what was Chris's previous experience? Why did you decide to partner up with him?
This is an interesting story because I was doing a small coaching kind of thing in January this year. I didn't want to become a coach. I don't want to become a coach still, but I still did it as like a small experiment. And I took 5 students in January for 30 days to help them get clients for their service business or freelancing business. And Chris was one of those 5 people. So that's how I found Chris. And then he set up his own cold email agency. He got clients there. And then we have been talking about cold email since January. And I was giving him tips. So we were like brainstorming ideas and all that stuff. And then after I decided to get out of cold email space actively, then we decided to partner up.
Nice. Nice. So I think one of the main skills, if I'm correct, with both with cold email, with growing on Twitter, is copywriting. So yeah, can you talk a bit more about copywriting? How did you learn to write good copy? And how can other people learn it?
Yeah, so for copywriting, I want to go back to July 2020. I was scrolling through Twitter and I found this guy, Oliver Canton, and he was talking about like learn copywriting and you'll be making a lot of money in 2021 if you invest. So this was in July. So he's saying invest the next 6 months of 2020 to learn copywriting, and in 2020 to learn copywriting, and then you will be able to make a lot of money in 2021. So that's how I first found out about copywriting. I didn't have any skills back then, so I thought, all right, I will just learn this thing called copywriting. And back then, I didn't even know what copywriting is. Like I used to think copywriting is like copy, like the copyright word, which has some stuff to do with like, I don't know what, like intellectual properties and all that stuff. So I didn't know anything about copywriting, but I decided to learn it. And then I won't call myself a very good copywriter, but I know the basics, and that has helped a lot in the cold email agency because I was reaching out to other businesses and I used to I had to use my words to sell my services and sell my client services. So you are supposed to use short form good copy there. And then in my course promotions also, copywriting was helpful. And then in Influtize also, copywriting is very helpful. So in all the businesses, the basic common thing all three of them have is copywriting.
Right. So what would be your number one tip for writing good copy on Twitter, for example?
Writing good copy on Twitter, like writing good tweets, or what do you mean?
Yeah, basically, if I want to write tweets or threads to get more followers, get more sales, how should I approach it?
So there are two ways to go about writing on Twitter. The first one is the professional way, where you have a good hook which grabs attention. You have some strong words in there. So a strong word could be $1 million or billionaire investor or angel investing. So you might have seen a lot of these threads where they say that how I interviewed this billionaire investor and these are the 10 mistakes I learned.
Right.
And then something like that. So you could use power words, grab attention, and then hook them up and then tell them the whole story in the upcoming tweets in the whole thread. And the other thing that you could do, which is this is pro level, what I talked about right now. And then there's woke level. Woke level is when you don't give a shit about Twitter, when you don't care about anything, which is the level I am at right now. I don't care about what hook I'm using, what headline I'm using. I don't even turn on like the caps lock. I just write everything in small caps or all caps. I don't do any formatting. I just write. And then you can't go to the woke level at 100 followers. No one will listen to you. So if you want to grow, you have to do the pro level. You have to use copywriting. Just have a good headline. And then you have a sub headline which supports the headline, so a headline usually has to make a big claim, and then the sub headline has to give a premise which supports the headline. So you have to have a sub headline which makes the headline look possible.
Right.
And then after that, you go on, and each the goal of each sentence is to make the reader read the next sentence. That's it. Like just use storytelling, just use curiosity. And then there are multiple good books about copywriting, like Great Leads, Scientific Advertising, and all that stuff. Read a few books and then just go and write copy. That's it.
Right. And then I guess at the end of the thread, you will have a call to action. And the same is true probably in the cold emails you send. So how should I think about writing a good call to action?
So you need to think about your call to action before you think about your headline, before you think about your thread idea. So before I write a thread, I think about what's my goal. I'm sitting on my chair one fine evening. I don't have anything to do. I feel like, oh, let me write a Twitter thread. I never feel like that way. I never do. I feel like, oh, I want to make money with my course. So in that case, the goal of my thread is to sell my course. So the CTA is defined from the beginning. And maybe one other day I feel like, oh, I need to pump up the subscribers in my email list. So the goal of my thread is to get email subscribers. So that's how I define my CTA. Maybe one day I decide, oh, I need more clients for Influtize. So I write a thread related to Influtize so that I could get more clients for Influtize. So you need to decide what your goal of the thread is, goal of any content for that matter, before you make that content, before you even think of content ideas, and then think of content ideas after you define that goal, and then make the content, and then your CTA is already there.
Right. Yeah. So think about the action first. Right. So then I guess now, at least for your first agency, you've outsourced all of the work. How did you go about that? Like finding the right people to hire, like initially VAs and then also like higher level people. What's the process for that?
So I used to hire low level like VAs, SDRs and everything from Upwork. And then I got my operations guy from LinkedIn. And then I'm not completely out of it. I still have to do like 2 or 3 calls every week. And then that's all I do, like 2 to 3 hours per week. And yeah, it's 99% delegated. I have like 4 SDRs doing most of the work. And then I have like first line writers and my operations guy and then 2 account managers. So everything is well structured. And then I have Notion SOPs and Loom videos for everything. So I don't have to invest a lot of time in it. Neither does my operations guy. He just has to talk to account managers. And then there are like team meetings every week. And that's like everyone does their work. Everyone knows what to do. We're not trying to grow it. Like we're not trying to get more clients for Copyright, which is the cold email agency. We're just trying to sustain it and keep the cash flow. That's the only goal. So we're not trying to get more clients. We're just trying to get results for the clients that we already have.
Right. And so how did you find most of those people? Like you mentioned Upwork, then other platforms. What are good ways to find good people?
So if you want to find account managers or SDRs or first line writers, I think Upwork is the way to go. If you want to find VAs, I think onlinejobs.ph is good. All you have to do is both in Upwork and then in online jobs, you need a job application, like job posting. I don't know what they call it. Like just have a paragraph where you define the requirements of the job, what you need from the person, what you need the person to do, what their experience level has to be. Do they need to have any skills? What's the time requirement? What's the pay? And that's all. And then after that, you'll get many applications. You filter through those applications and then you get on a Zoom call with all of those people and then just hire them. So I think around 10 days ago, I was hiring 3 people for Influtize and I didn't want to go to Upwork, though it would have been cheaper if I went to Upwork. I didn't feel like spending my time. So I just wrote a tweet, and then I got I got multiple applications. So what I did, I wrote a tweet. I said, you need good English, you need 5 hours per day, and then you need one other thing. I don't remember. And then I told people that you're going to work with me and Chris directly. So a good thing with Twitter is that since it's your audience, those people want to work with you. They want to learn from you. So that's a very big incentive. And then I told them to fill a tally form, which is like Google Forms. And then I went through all the applications, and then I scheduled like 9 calls in the I scheduled 9 calls in the upcoming 3 days. But on the first day, the first 3 calls, I hired the first 3 people and canceled all other calls.
All right. Yeah.
So it was really fast. I hired 3 people within 24 hours, and I had to cancel the other calls.
Wow. Oh yeah. So Twitter can definitely be useful for that kind of thing as well. And so with Inflotize, with your new business, how is that like running a second business? How is that compared to your first business? Are things easier? Do you repeat a lot of the stuff you've already done, or are there still new things that you encounter every day?
The fulfillment is completely new, so I enjoy that. But I have this feeling of having control. So I know what's happening. I know I have had experienced this stuff once, so I know when you're supposed to do what. Like, like the first time I did this, I didn't know how to invoice my clients. I didn't know how to make contracts. I didn't know how to hire people. I didn't know how to build SOP. So I learned all that stuff for the first time. And this time I feel like I know most of the stuff regarding like the setup and growing the agency, except the fulfillment, which I have to figure out right now, which is a good thing. Like I'm enjoying the fulfillment side of things. You have to try new strategies for each client, for each campaign, which is pretty cool. But I feel like I have much more control, and that's it. Like it feels like I can grow it to much bigger numbers much faster.
Nice. And yeah, so when you talk about those new strategies, what do those strategies look like, and how do you find the right strategy?
So the strategies are just related to audience monetization, whether you want to use an email list, whether you want to use a webinar funnel, whether you want to use VSLs, or do you want to use like sales calls. Like there are all these tactics which you can use, but it depends on the situation and what your goal is. And then you just need to figure out what your clients need, what your clients are comfortable with doing, and then do that thing. And it's just like try this, try that, try this, try that until something works, and then just double down on that thing which works.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, you're talking about knowing what your clients want. I think in general, it's very important in business, like to know what your user wants, to know what your client wants. So how do you go about that? How do you develop like a feeling for kind of what the client needs and what they want?
So you need to know what your client wants when he's hiring you. Before you have like signed the contract, you need to know why your client is working with you. Is it because you're going to make him a lot of money? Is it because you're going to save him a lot of time? Is it because you are going to do something which he doesn't know how to do? Or is it because you are going to do something which he doesn't want to do? So many of my clients are afraid of selling.
Right.
And they don't know how to sell. And they also want to know how, like they also want to make more money. So it's all three of them. But they have a lot of time. So I know that this guy has a lot of time and he's willing to invest an extra 10 hours. So I could use strategies which require 10 extra hours from him, but I can't use strategies which require him to go talk to 100 people and give them a pitch because he's not comfortable with selling and he doesn't want to do that. So that's how you figure out what you are supposed to use. You talk to your client, you have a discovery call, you have the sales call. In those two calls itself, you get a good feeling what the client wants, what the client needs, what he's afraid of, and then you can make a plan right from the beginning. Like whenever I talk to someone for the first time, I start calculating in my head what I could do for this guy and what I couldn't. So it starts right from the beginning, and then you just try multiple things, see what works, and then just do that.
Right. Right. So that's with B2B clients. You have this discovery call and you can find out about all of that. But then, yeah, you also did B2C sales when selling your course. So how did you go about finding out what the people who buy your course and who take your course, what they need, and how did you get their feedback? And did you like listen to their feedback and update your course as you went? How did you go about that?
So here's a crazy coincidence I want you to think about. With copyright, when I started it, before copyright, I was like freelancing and I was struggling to get clients. So copyright was helping my clients get clients. So I was the target market.
Right.
With my course, Agency Cashflow Roadmap, like 8 months before I launched the course, I didn't know how to start an agency. So I was the target market again. Like I was teaching my previous version how to start an agency. With Influtize, it's the same exact thing. I didn't have time. I didn't want to sell my course. So I was doing that for other people again. So you don't need market research if you are the market. And it simplifies things a lot.
Yeah, I love that. Like it's almost like you're building the business or the product for yourself, like for your past self.
I just came to this realization like 3 seconds ago that all 3 businesses have this thing in common. I'm just selling to a previous version of myself.
Yeah, that's interesting. Also, like because also like the product I'm building, it's like what I would like to have had myself, like I don't know, 3 years ago maybe. So I think that's quite a common theme, quite a good strategy, building things that you want for yourself. And then I guess one tricky issue is, as you said, yeah, a lot of people are not comfortable with selling, and I think especially like pricing is very difficult for many people as well. So how do you become comfortable to sell? Like what should you practice and how do you decide how to price yourself or your products?
So there are 2 questions. How do you become comfortable with selling and how do you decide what to charge?
Yeah.
For becoming comfortable with selling, the only way to do that is by selling more. There's no other way to do it. Like till now, I don't feel comfortable selling. I feel a bit weird when I'm on a sales call and it's the last phase of the sales call and I'm supposed to give my price and I'm supposed to pitch the client that you have to pay this much and we can do this for you. I feel I have a weird feeling in my stomach. And then similarly, when I'm supposed to sell my course, I have this weird feeling that, oh, I'm not supposed to sell. Why am I selling to these people? Who am I? So the only thing you can do is just sell more and it will get better slowly. That's the only solution. And then for pricing, you have 2 strategies for pricing. You could either maximize your profit right now, and then you could either build a fan base, a big fan base, or I should say a big customer base, and then you could keep selling to them. So there are 2 strategies here. Like you could either, like let's say you have a course, you could either go and sell that course for $1,000 while it's worth like $50, or you could go and sell it for $10 while it's worth $50. So in the second case, you will get return customers when you make a new offer, maybe 2 months later. So it depends. But in the first case, you're going to make more money. So it depends. Do you want to make more money right now, or do you want to keep making money for the future? And then it also depends on how much are you comfortable with charging, how much is the client comfortable with paying, and how are you structuring the payment. So you could, for like normal courses you could do one time, or you could transition them into communities where you charge per recurring. And for services, you could do like I had pay per appointment model. So the more leads I get from my clients, if for every lead I got from a client, I used to get a certain amount of money, or you could get a retainer. So you promise them a fixed number of leads, and then they will pay you a fixed amount of money every month. And then the money will be fixed. The leads will obviously be variable because you can't control how many leads you get. And then the other thing you could do is percentage based. So the more money your client makes, the more money you make. And that is the option I love the most, because the incentives of both the parties are aligned. If they're making more money, you're going to make more money. And then your clients also feel very comfortable with that approach, because they don't have to pay you anything from their own pocket. They just, when they make more money, they just give a percentage of that extra revenue to you. So it's very easy to close.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been trying to find a copywriter who would accept that model for my business, but I haven't found one yet. So, but I agree. It's definitely the best to have those incentives aligned.
I'll hook you up with someone. Just text me after this and I'll connect you.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And then I know you've also been thinking in the past about maybe building a business that can create a recurring revenue, because it's always a kind of a debate on Twitter, right? Do I build a service business or a product business that I sell as a one-off, or do I create like a SaaS which has recurring revenue? So what are your thoughts on the advantages and disadvantages of service businesses versus like recurring revenue SaaS?
So I'm still waiting for you to make a SaaS for me.
I have no time.
But yeah, I think I really like the idea of SaaS. It's making less money right now to get that big amount of money later on. So I really like that idea. Instead of making 2K per month forever, you could make 2 million at the end of 5 years. And then I think 5 million is more than 2K per month for 5 years. So that is a very good business model, I should say. It requires a lot of work though, and I want to get into it very soon in the future. And yeah, I'm just waiting for the right time and the right partnerships and the right people, just because I don't want to get into the coding side of things. And right now I also have no idea what SaaS to build. So I am thinking about it in the back of my mind, but it's not a major priority right now. The major priority is just scaling Inflatize to the moon.
Right. And do you have any future plans or strategies that you want to reveal about what you're going to do with Inflatize in the future?
I have a few strategies. I'm talking to a few people to partner up with to get more clients for Inflatize. And hopefully if we have a third episode of this thing, we can see if that stuff works out, because none of it is final right now. But yeah, I'm talking to 2-3 people, and I think they could get me some really big deals.
Awesome. Yeah. I hope we will have that third interview very soon and be able to talk about that. And then, I mean, I asked you last time who I should interview next on the podcast. And I think you mentioned some people from Money Twitter. I have messaged them. I don't think I've gotten a lot of replies yet. So who can I get on the podcast who will actually agree to come on?
Okay. So who can you message? I would love if you could get Ken on. So his username is @vision&sales.
Okay.
So try to get him on. I think he's a genius. Like, he's a total genius. But if Ken doesn't reply, go to Chris. So Chris is my business partner.
Right.
And I think he'll reply, and he's a cool guy.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll try to talk with both of them. All right. So thanks, Devesh. And yeah, if people want to follow you or hear your story or maybe use your services, what's the best way for them to follow you and get in touch?
Go to Donvesh, like twitter.com, Donvesh on Twitter, Donvesh, and that's where I spend most of my time. Like I'm spending very less time right now, but I open Twitter every day for at least 15 minutes. So that's the easiest way to get in touch with me and get me more followers.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been following you for a long time on Twitter and your email list, and I enjoy your copywriting, so I'm sure you will get more followers. All right.
Thanks, bro. Thanks.
So yeah, thanks a lot for being on a podcast again. We learned a lot of new things, and I'm already looking forward to the third interview and learning even more. So thanks, Donvesh.
All right, awesome. Good chat.
All right.